that's pretty high-powered individuals coming into this state. And also we had the head of the Democrat Party, the former head of the Democrat Party, the current head of the Democrat Congressional Committee. So I think they've got my eye on me. And so I need to do everything that I need to do to get my message out to the public. And so far, everywhere I go, it's resonating pretty well. When we're done here, I have some campaign stops here in St. Cloud, so I'll be talking to people here in St. Cloud.
If Republicans take control of Congress, what is the first thing you think ought to be done?
Well, I think one of the first things that will be done, the focus will be on jobs in the economy, without a doubt. And I think that depending upon what happens with the current tax cuts, I think one of the very first things will be to make sure that no one has a tax increase going forward. Because, again, we have got to get the tax tables out to people so that they know how to plan.
Would you stop the stimulus?
I think any existing stimulus monies that haven't yet been spent, I think it's important that we look at those monies to see if they're projects that are nonsense projects or if they're worthwhile, and we need to make a decision.
Would you investigate TARP?
Well, I think the $700 billion that was spent on the bailout, that money that has come back in particular, one of my colleagues, Representative Barney Frank, has said that, or has indicated that he wants to continue to use those TARP funds as a revolving fund. There is no business that Congress has to use those monies as a revolving fund. They need to go back to the U.S. Treasury and pay back that $700 billion bailout money. We were told that's what was going to happen. It hasn't, and like most government projects, they become eternal. So we need to make sure that the government does what they said they were going to do.
Could you clarify your position on Social Security? You said that was a misleading ad.
Yeah, well, I believe very firmly that what we need right now is reform, but I think it's important that we make sure that people know that anyone who's currently receiving Social Security won't see any change in their life going forward. But we also need to recognize that we're in a situation where we will see the most vulnerable people in the United States in a very precarious position if we don't reform this system. And that's why I say both parties need to come to the table. We need to sit down like adults, put all the ideas on the table, and make sure we can secure this system going forward.
But what do you mean reform?
Well, that's going to be a big issue.
You have no ideas
about
that?
It's going to take, we have ideas, but it's going to take more than an afternoon. We're all going to sit down.
Well, just give us one or two.
Is it the Paul Ryan roadmap? I mean, is that what
just give us one.
No, we're not talking about that right
Why?
now. Because what we're talking about are jobs and securing the economy. And so that's what we're going to focus on.
Again?
Pardon?
Will you be debating Clark again?
Yes, we will. We'll be at Minnesota Public Radio on Thursday, and then we'll also be on TV, and that'll be KSDP, and that's coming up this Sunday.
Last question.
Representative, are you surprised, given the tone of the commercials, when there's actually face-to-face debate, the tone changes? What's the disconnect? Why does that happen? The ads are brutal. Today's debate was civil.
Well, I think we've seen some new lows in some of the commercials. For instance, I think nationally, I don't know that anyone has ever seen an ad before that used an expletive or a bleep out in it. That was something new that we saw from one of my opponents, Terrell Clark. And then also we saw something that I didn't even know was possible that a person could do. She wrongly misstated my position on an issue, which was Social Security. Then she took my name, my image, my likeness, and my voice, essentially my disclaimer, added that to her ad, and it's really an insult to the voters of this district because she was trying to indicate that by my voice, the ad was saying, I'm Michele Bachmann, and I approve this message. In other words, my voice was saying that I approved her wrong statement. And I think actually, Pat, you pointed that out. It was a gross distortion. I would never even consider doing something like that, because I think that, again, that insults the voters of the district. It insults their intelligence because it's a fraud that's being perpetrated on the district. And I think that more than anything, it's important to tell the truth. Tell the truth about your own positions, but also it's certainly within reason to talk about your opponent's voting record and what they've done.
Your ads did not insult the intelligence of the voters?
No, I don't believe they have. We're very proud of our ads, and we're grateful for them. And actually, I want to thank the St. Cloud Chamber of Commerce and also the Rotary. This was a wonderful debate that we had today, and I thank them for it.
Thank you.
It was very well attended.
Thank you, folks. We got to run. We got to run, folks. Thank you.
Congresswoman, we don't know what it is.
Thank you very much.
Including Bob, including him like he's part of this race,
Well,
too.
of course,
That's
'cause he
awesome.
is.
I know it, but
No.
sometimes people don't realize that, and you actually did, and I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, he's a great guy to do the debates with, and I'm glad that he could be here. It's another voice. And So I'm glad we could do it.
Well, I appreciate how
yeah,
you did
no,
it.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your interest.
you.
Thanks for
To the
being
right,
here.
Sergio, to the right.
Thank you.
Don't accept any of that. Both of these two are war chests full of special interest. So when Terrell Clark says she doesn't get special interest, she does because she's got them all. So they both do. I'm the only one that doesn't. And I think that people are starting to realize, hey, you know what? If we're going to have a representative that can truly represent the constituents, we need one with no strings attached. I'm the only one in this race that can do that.
I was just going to ask one more question. So I wonder what you felt, how you felt about the endorsements that have been coming out. Star Tribune did speak with you, but discounted you as a candidate.
I got a ringing endorsement from the Star Tribune. I said, they tell people, this editorial board has crossed the line. They actually have put in print telling people don't vote for the Independence Party candidate, Bob Anderson. It's a wasted vote. Now, I don't mind somebody getting the endorsement, but that's crossing the line. You look at ECM newspapers, how they did their screening and endorsing. They endorsed Senator Terrell Clark. They were classy and they were ethical. They didn't say don't vote for a particular candidate. So in the 6th District, when you got the most liberal newspaper in the state or maybe the country telling people not to vote for this guy, I think the 6th District, the most conservative district in the state, is going to realize, hey, he just got my vote.
But they endorsed Horner.
That's what's so pathetic about it. So what's Tom Horner going to say now when the Star Tribune is telling people don't vote for the Independence Party candidate? It's a wasted vote. This is what we're fighting all the time as the Independence Party. If we have ranked choice voting, that doesn't happen.
Have you had a hard time facing them in debate?
Facing who?
Them in debate?
Yeah, the first 2 debates were canceled because Senator Clark wouldn't participate because we know Congresswoman Bachmann wasn't going to do it. But last time when El Tinklenberg and I ran, he ran a great campaign. Him and I were in 10 forums across the state because he was willing to go anywhere, anytime. And that gave me exposure too, and I think that was a big part of how I got the 10% last time. That's 40,700 votes.
Hi, quick question, Bob. Good to see you again. Were you surprised?
I was going to say, I can walk around. You don't have to move. So.
What'd you think?
Well, it was certainly great to finally actually have a conversation. You'd think after being in office for 4 years, she'd have something to say for herself instead of waiting till the last week. Our founders really believed in vigorous debate, having people actually talking with each other. They'd barely consider this to be a warm-up. So it's unfortunate she decided to wait so long. I think she flip-flopped on a whole lot of things. I don't think people heard her actual positions. But, you know, the voters were going to work and make sure on the next 8 days that they know they're going to have somebody who's standing up and fighting for them.
Senator, on the issue of Social Security, you did on Social Security. You, in your television ads, you've been very critical of her, but you went pretty easy on her in this debate. You didn't really bring up some of those issues. Why is that?
Well, we didn't have a direct question on it, and I thought it was important to be addressing the questions that they were trying to get us to talk about. I think it's been clear before she was elected. She absolutely made it clear she supported George Bush's proposal that would privatize. She might not use those words, but it's private accounts. And she's been very clear. She's called it a tremendous fraud. She has said that people need to be weaned off of Social Security and Medicare. That means for somebody like me who's paid in for 35 years, what's going to happen? It's my money. I've paid in. That's what I hear from people all across the district. And honestly, if people like me aren't paying in anymore, what does that mean? That means we will run out of money and that will all fall down. But our people, our future generations deserve better. This has been something that has been a key part of our country for 75 years. It's something that distinguishes us, that you can have some guaranteed income. And if we're going to let Wall Street gamble it away, we would have lost $2 trillion. $2 trillion. And so I don't think that that's where we want to go. I think it's important that we keep it solvent and that we work on the issues really that are in front of us that need immediate attention, getting people to work, which will help us with the funding for that, and making sure that we are working on Medicaid and Medicare to bring the costs down and make sure we're rewarding outcomes, not just procedures.
But the question...
I'm sorry.
What do you ought to do with Social Security? Should you raise the age of retirement?
I think that right now we know that it's 100% solvent through 2037. And after that, it would be about 78% of benefits. What we need to do is get people working. people working. It's going to help make sure that we've got the resources. We know that in the early 80s that Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill were able to work together, and I'm open to be working with people on all sides to figure this out. I just think in this crisis that we're having on other things that we need to work on it first. But I got to tell you, there's a reason why the Committee to Protect Social Security and Medicare endorsed me and not Congresswoman Bachmann.
Should the payroll tax go up or retirement age go up?
Right now, I don't see any immediate changes necessary. I think we need to get people back to work, and we got to start working on dealing with the issues that relate to Medicare and Medicaid.
We didn't get a clear answer from you on the card check. Could you be more specific about that? How you would vote?
I don't know what proposal will be in front of me. I'm not there right now. I will do what I've done in the state Senate, which is work with all parties to make sure that we have legislation that works, and that I do believe in fair labor policies.
So it sounds like you favor it, though, generally.
I favor fair labor policies, and I will make sure that we do things that work.
Have you told union groups that you would favor it?
Like I said, I favor fair labor policies, and that's what we'll move forward on. I think that it makes sense if you have a business who absolutely is stonewalling and is not allowing employees who want to come together to organize, that if more than 50% of them say, I want to do this, then they should be able to get in. And I think proposals like that should be able to move forward. But again, I think the U.S. Chamber has gone ahead and misled a whole lot of businesses about what this would be. I think that in Minnesota we have great laws. We have companies who really work well together with labor. And maybe in other states they've got problems that we need to look at.
So it sounds like a tepid endorsement of card check. Is that a tepid endorsement of it, if they should have that opportunity?
I certainly favor proposals that if a majority of employees want to go ahead and organize, that they're able to. If they're able to do it through working out votes with companies, great. If they're not, should be other ways that they can do it. If a majority of employees want to be organizing, that is part of our country.
Even without a secret ballot?
That's part of who we are. Again, if the employers won't allow a secret ballot and more than 50% of the people come together, why shouldn't that be something that would be allowed?
Are you now, or have you ever been a relative of Nancy Pelosi?
No. Like I said at the end there, I didn't realize how important I was and how much I've gotten done. I think she's really mistaken again about who she's running against. Miss Nancy Pelosi, as best I can tell, isn't thinking about her. It's important that she is talking to the people of the 6th District about what she's done for them, how our policies have improved their lives, and what she is going to do. And I don't think she's doing that. And I'm not in Congress. I'm in the state Senate. And on at least 94% of the time on major bills, we have bipartisan bills. I think it's important that people actually get past this political posturing and work together to get things done. Something, again, I have a good track record on. I work on all of my bills bipartisanly. I make sure that locally I'm working with stakeholders. We are in a challenging time. She is out there really, as best I can tell, villainizing a whole lot of her colleagues, and it's hard to get anything done. She neither works across the aisle nor gets anything done for the people of the district, and I'm going to.
Do you think that this would be if you win on Tuesday, would be a upset, and how would you classify how you're going to get that done between now and then, considering recent polls?
Well, she certainly has spent a lot of money. Over $8.5 million. She's up to $187,000 a day she is paying to attack me, saying false and misleading things, and obviously showing pictures of me that don't look anything like me. At least she can do that. And I think that she is really, it appears to me she's trying to buy the election, and that she is running for something else. And I think win or lose, she's running for something else, and people ought to ask them whose priorities she really is focusing on, because it's not the people of the 6th District. As the St. Cloud Times said when they endorsed me, it is clear that the people, her constituents, are her last priority. We just went through this terrible meltdown. She sided with Wall Street. She has done nothing to create a job or help a family stay in the home. And I think what we're going to do here is just what we did when I won my special election that I wasn't supposed to win. We're continuing to work neighbor to neighbor, door to door, cut through all the negativity, all the falsehoods, the confusion that people have, and work to move people forward. And I don't care what party somebody is. If they want to actually move our state and our country forward, that's who I want to work with.
Are you worried about the Bob Anderson factor on November 2nd?
Well, you said you think she has other ambitions or other objectives.
What's she running for?
Yeah, what is she running for?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask her. All I know is you don't need this much money. I knew that she was going to make this a national race.
How are you going to fight for closures in your district when you get a chance?
Well, I knew she was making this a national race and that we were going to have to work hard to raise money. We've raised over $4 million. That would have been about 4 House seats, maybe 3 House seats. She has spent essentially 8 House seats worth of money making stuff up and giving people false and misleading things. Why? Because she has nothing to say for herself. So we're making sure we're getting past all that and focusing on the people and making sure they know that I'm going to fight for them, not the special interests.
Are you worried about the Bob Anderson factor on November 2nd? You know, he took 10% of the vote in 2008. You know, Tinklenberg thinks it cost him the election. You know, are you worried about that at all?
I definitely think it cost him the election. And what I'm working to make sure is that, you know, Bob, by his own admissions, considers himself to be a conservative alternative. His policies are right in line with Michele for the most part. And we're working to make sure that if people, again, want somebody who's going to go, be an effective voice for them, actually make things happen, they should be voting for me. And a vote for anybody else is a vote for Michele.
How are you going to fight for closures in your district?
The same way that I've done in the state Senate. You know, we put in place right after the first predatory lending issues, we put in some strong policies that actually the federal government then worked to put in place as well. I believe that one of the things that should happen is really to have mediation going on. What I hear from banks all the time, small and large, is they want to be working with the homeowners, but the problem is the only people anybody can get through to are the community banks. So these big banks, the big banks that got bailed out, we've got to get them to come to the table and make it so that you can actually get through to a live human being that can actually make a difference for you. And, you know, Michele's voted 5 times against things that would help her, help people who are in foreclosed situations. That's not a good answer. If we actually care about this, we need to be working together to make it happen. And I was thinking there was one other thing I was thinking about with foreclosures. Well, I guess.
Do you think there was a defining moment in this debate or a knockout blow or anything like that?
I think she didn't. I think she did not give people a reason to vote for her, and I think once again she's sidestepping the real issues of the people of the district.
Like what? I mean, specifically.
Every single issue. I mean, I don't. You know, she talks about saying that she wants to create jobs. She's had 4 years to do it. She's voted against every proposal, and she hasn't fought to do anything that would actually help us. She hasn't worked to get any of our taxpayer dollars back here. Instead, she spent all her time running around the country, ginning people up. I mean, today she's campaigning with Glenn Beck. I mean, so her priorities seem to be Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. I think the priorities need to be the people of the 6th district.
Glenn Beck
Thanks,
here
everybody.
today?
That's my understanding.
Thanks a lot, guys. This way.
Thank you.